I really got to change that. I like it, but it's a new year, man. It's a new year. We got to
Yeah.
freshen it
I,
up. Do you
I
do
thought it
anything
was
like
like
that on your streams?
I just have like a starting soon, and it's just me sitting on a cartoonish alpaca. I just mixed it up. I'm kind of, I guess we can kind of talk about this in content creation, but I'm slowly like I don't know, the alpaca thing. It was kind of funny initially, I found, and like I mean, it's still fine. It's just like I think I'm just gonna kind of retire it though at some point, just because.
I want to
Uh,
ask you about that actually. But before we do that, hey everybody, happy Monday. It's February 16th, 2026. This is the Tech Commute. I am your host, Jason, and I have a very rare uh, thing happening here. I have a guest that's been here not once, but now twice. And I'm actually very excited because we got to chat with my friend Nick Taylor here, who I've also got to hang out with IRL a few times now. Canada's finest, as Jeff says. Um, but this gives us an opportunity to kind of go down some avenues that we haven't really got to talk about in the past. One of them being content creation. And I kind
yeah,
of want to understand your process and your workflow and what inspires you to make content and get into some other things. But first, let's talk about the alpaca because I'm also curious where
yeah.
that even started. I almost feel like I asked you a long time ago on Twitch, but now I don't remember. So share with the class.
Yeah, so fun fact. Well, I live in Montreal, so not too far from where Jason's at. I think we're like hour and a half apart, maybe. You're
Yeah,
you're
a couple hours.
Rochester still, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
sir.
cool. Yeah, ABC WN, what is it? WVNY channel 22.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
Wow,
that that
dude,
was
you're
my ABC channel growing up. So,
that's
um,
crazy. That's
anyways,
crazy.
hey, how's it going, Will? Hey, Roxy. Hey, Jeff. Yeah. So the
Everybody's here.
alpaca, it's like I don't know if it's a fun fact or whatever, but like just outside of Montreal. So like I go to the Eastern Townships a lot, which sounds fancy,
Mhm,
but it's just like southeast of Montreal, so it's close to Vermont. And I
mhm.
usually go like snowboarding and stuff there in the winter. But like they have alpaca and llama farms like all around there for whatever reason, and it's not they don't kill them. It's not for meat. It's literally their wool.
Yeah.
So like it's like crazy expensive. Like I don't know. I'm sure there's at least one person that knits in the chat, but like we're talking. This is like gold standard like knitting wool, so it's like kind of expensive. But
Wow,
anyways,
yeah. The
so they
high
have these
end stuff.
farms, yeah. And so like we'd go there every now and then with my kids when they were younger, and there was and there's like also the Brome Fair, which is just like a farm fair, people showing off their
Mhm.
tractors and animals and stuff, and they got alpacas there too. But we were at one of these farms and just took some pictures, and the one that shows up on my stream, or if you see it on my like YouTube channel, like cards for the streams, he just looked mischievous, and I just liked the way he looked. And I don't think I'm really that good at branding, and I just one day just said I'm just going to use this alpaca, and like people recognize it, so they know it's me, but to some degree. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the story. There's no like super well thought out stuff. He just looked like a shady, like he's up to no good alpaca. So
And you felt like that represented you as a brand?
yeah. So please buy my coin. It just dropped.
The Nick Taylor alpaca Bitcoin.
Yeah, the Paca coin.
Yeah,
Anyways,
pack bits. Yeah, that's
so so
hilarious.
so that's kind of like this story. It's nothing else really.
Nice. Wrong animal, Will Klein. It's great to see you though.
Yeah, and I also feel like a bit of a dickhead when somebody goes, "Oh, what's with the llama?" And then I have to do the, well, actually, it's an alpaca. And as soon as I say it or like frame it like that, I'm like, I sound like a douche right now.
Do you you should ask your, and we'll talk about your OpenClaw bot. You should ask
Yeah.
it to automate something. So in your Twitch chat, if someone uses the word llama, it makes it go to alpaca. So no matter how many times they try, it does that. Actually, I
No,
could see you
totally,
doing that.
totally.
How do you? Okay, so I mean, based on your winging it with the alpaca as far as like the inspiration for the design essentially of your entire site? Because you've used this alpaca a couple times, like it transitioned a little over some different graphics and stuff that you've had. Um, what made you stay with it? You just were like, well, it's there now.
I'm I'm not a designer. I'm like in my head it kind of looks cool. I don't think it's really that great. And the other reason why I'm gonna probably steer away from it is because like I revamped my personal site, which is basically my hub for everything now. Like I used to
Mm,
have NikkiT.live, which would be my live stream schedule and stuff. And then there's
hmm
NikkiT.co, which is like where I just had my blog and like a few other things. And over the holidays, this ties into AI as well. I was like, I've been wanting to merge the sites forever, and I wanted to just put a new coat of paint on it too. So the first thing I did
Sure.
was like, I just leveraged AI. I just said like this site's an Astro site. My old one's 11D, and anyways, I basically got it all pulled in, so all the data. And then once all that was working, I went into V0 and I just said, I said I'm not a. I forget what I wrote. Something like I'm not a designer. I know what looks good, and I'm good at front end, but I can't design for shit.
Mm,
So
fair.
like I said stuff like I definitely want good spacing, some kind of go with this like pinkish color just to be different a bit, and like uh, help me pick two fonts that pair well. There's a site called Google Fonts where you compare and stuff, but
hmm
even with that, like I'm that kind of person that even though I've been doing tons of front end in the past, I'm the guy that takes 2 weeks to figure out which font to use. So anyways, I got V0 to just help me with that initial design, and then I went with that, and then later on, if you open up my website on like a larger screen or like your laptop, there'll be this
hmm
nice little pattern in the top right corner, and like and that
Nice.
basically AI drove that whole thing. And I really like the way it looks now. I added search. There's like so many things I was able to just tack on so quickly leveraging AI after. Um, and so like that doesn't look anything like my stream now. So that's why I'm probably gonna change the branding to some degree to be more like my
Yeah.
website.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
and
I don't
just
see this pattern you're talking about, by the way.
it,
Oh,
it's
wait.
very subtle. It's little dots on the top
Yeah.
right. It's supposed to be subtle. So like
Yeah, I see it. It's like a it gradients from that top corner and then fades
yeah,
out. Um, I see it in light mode, which I'm
yeah.
hating looking at. Oh yeah, now I see it
There's
in
dark
dark
mode
mode.
too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that.
So it's nothing major, but like I know how things should look good, but I'm
Mm.
not a designer, so I just basically got V0 to do it for me. Um,
Hey, use
and
the tools that are available though, you know? It's
yeah,
like you might have strengths somewhere else, but you also understand the tools around you to use them when you need them.
yeah. And this is I don't know, like because everybody's talking about AI obviously, and like I think this is a good example of like I got AI to do the majority of this, but like I was steering it. I knew what I wanted it to look like. I also checked the code after, maybe not 100% of the code, but I was like, this is like good enough, and got it to check for accessibility stuff. And there's some stuff I might have done manual after, but this was the kind of thing that I literally did it over a weekend. And prior to having AI, this would have been like at least a month probably because of like just working full time and stuff. So
Yeah.
so like it really is superpowers if you know how to wield it. So
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there is the tools work better if you know how to use them. If you already have the skill, if you were a roofer and you get a new tool that helps you with the job, as
yeah.
opposed to hoping it does the thing for you. So, what are some things that you maybe noticed that you had to fix? Because you said you kind of looked at some stuff. So what were some things that maybe stuck out for you that you've tried to like, I wouldn't say vibe code, but like you've used AI before. Like what is something
Yeah.
that these tools is consistently missing that you're noticing?
Uh Sometimes it honestly just doesn't listen to what you ask. I use it for
Yeah.
writing all the time, not to literally write my blog post, but like typically I'll dictate it, or like I'll pull in content I've done elsewhere, you know,
Mm.
like a YouTube stream. I'll say, get the transcript. Here's a previous blog post I wrote. Then I'll like give some of my own notes, and I'll just say, can you spit out a draft? So it's still my content.
Yeah.
But then, you know, just a lot of times it's like, to be honest, I never used M dashes until I never even knew what an M dash was until I met Becca, my old coworker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I literally just have a rule all the time: no emojis, no M dashes, and sometimes it just doesn't respect it. But anyways,
Well, you know what's interesting about the M dash, ironically, is like I feel like recently it has been giving me them more. I don't feel
okay.
like it was ever doing that, but then all of a sudden I noticed like people complaining about it, and now for some reason, especially in Gemini, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you even putting that there? Like, how does this make sense?
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I literally just tell it to never put him because I know people think it's an AI tell. And the funny thing is, like, people I know who are solid writers prior to AI
Yeah,
love M dashes, and they're just having like existential crises. It's like,
that's
but
crazy.
but yeah, no, like things it might miss sometimes is, or other things like it just might do too much. Like if we speak in the context of front end, like do this thing for me, and then I look at it and it's just got too much markup. Like I don't need like 20 divs in it. I just need the
Mm,
one thing, you know, like, so there's a bit of steering there. I don't think it's perfect at accessibility, for example,
yeah,
and little stuff like that. But there's still ways to just, it is good with code, um, but you still have to steer it. You also have to, I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, or I mentioned it, maybe it was in Shashi's Discord, but like there's something called context rot.
mm,
So like basically if you have a long running conversation, all of that stuff gets sent every time you go to ask something. So like, for
okay,
example, say an hour ago, because you started the conversation an hour ago, you're asking like, what should I have for dinner? And, you know, are pickles good on with peanut butter? And then later on, you're like, yeah, so I'm trying to fix this React issue. And then all of a sudden it's getting confused, or giving you weird answers because it's literally got that whole history. So
oh,
you basically want to start new conversations when it makes sense. A lot of times, and tools are starting to do this now, like, but like what I would typically do is say summarize things and save it in a markdown file. And then I'd start again and I'd say, here's what we were doing. Or like, you know, give me the lay of the land. Where did we finish off? What's still not working? And I'm not alone in that, but like a lot of tools are starting to do that, like Claude Code or Claude Cowork are both. You know, they have
mm,
this concept of the tasks now, and then there's like the LLMs like having stuff to do. They like to try to be organized. So I've found a lot of just saving stuff to Markdown helps too. But like I said, the tools are going to get better for all that stuff. And you know, and the other thing, which might sound obvious, but like be precise with what you want. You know, like if
mm.
I say make, you know, the bad example, well, not bad example, but the example I kind of give normally is like, make me a website. It's gonna do it, but like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, why did you build it with Ruby on Rails? I wanted to React. Say, well, you know, I didn't specify that, or
yeah,
you know, and this, I don't know. It's just interesting times because it's a lot about like specs or just giving good instructions, understanding your domain or your product. And I think like I like coding, but I've, you know, and I think I'm pretty decent at it, but I'm not married to the code. And I think
mm,
there's kind of like a bit of a rude awakening happening for people where programming was only ever about the code. And
mm.
that's not
Ooh,
really what it's about. Like, you know, it's always been about like you're providing business value for somebody, whether that's a service or a tool.
yeah,
You know, literally nobody cares that it's built in React or Vue or you're using Rails, or, you know, it's the page doesn't load or like the feature doesn't work. That's what they care about. So, you know, it's more about, you're kind of putting on a lot of hats now. You're like a product manager, you're a technical person. You still need to understand like the architecture or like the code. You have to be technical still too, but like, but at the same time, like it's making it accessible for anybody to just vibe code stuff too. So like, you know, there's this whole kind of like explosion of personal software. Like, you know, somebody who's never even coded can just say like, just build me this tool. I need to upload a CSV and I don't know, generate some form or something, you know, and people can do that now. You know, it might not be great software, but it does the thing they need, you know? So I don't know, it's just wild times.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes though, and I think that's one piece that, back to your point about like where the code was very heavily the like factor for some people, what we're starting to see is anybody can now create things that they weren't able to. And it could work for them. You know, the person that makes some sort of a website, if it works for them, like that's okay. But does that make them a developer?
Yeah, maybe not, but like I don't know. I feel like lines are getting blurred and like, you know, I think one thing that's cool about this too is like, you know, oh hey Lucas, how you doing, man? It's just like I've done a ton of TypeScript and JavaScript and C# in the past. Those are mainly the languages I know. But if I needed to build something in Rust now, I still have technical chops, but I could say like, you know, port this to Rust for me, or, you know, even if I don't understand everything about Rust, I still, you know, there's definitely differences in Rust. Like it's more functional and immutable, but that's besides the point. It's just more like, I don't know this language, but I could still build something in it now. And I think that's kind of pretty cool too, you know? And
I think it opens opportunities. And again, this is where it goes back to someone like yourself, who is an experienced developer, can make more opportunities out of it. Whether it's sloppy code, but it's working for a mom and pop's place, or it's just kind of like a fun website somebody cooked up just for shits and gigs, like that's okay. But, you know, ultimately, is it best practices? Is it clean code? Maybe not, but I think it's kind of subjective. And again, these conversations now are far more prevalent than they were, you know, even 3 years ago. When I came into tech back in 2022, none of this was really a thing. So
totally.
that's wild. Hey Ryan, it's good to see Ryan. Ryan, I was actually going to bring up, so I had built, I think I don't remember if I was using Bolt or just using WebStorm, and then I use ZAI, but it made buttons in React, but did React buttons, not React links for the thing. Ryan got so mad at me because he was auditing my site. But again, it's like little things like that. It's like the AI knows you want to make a button, so it makes a button. It didn't make it the most efficient and clean code way for like best practices. So it's like, again, it's like little things like that. That don't make sense.
And you can definitely create a playbook of rules and stuff, but I've noticed it doesn't always follow it still too, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, and it goes back to your comment about the context flow of like the pickle conversation and stuff. Like if you give it things to remember, but that's an excellent segue for us to get into OpenClaw conversation, because that does have MD for the markdown files that can save for specific things as far as like its personality and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about your experience using everybody's favorite new toy.
Yeah, so I started using OpenClaw, I think 3 weeks ago. It's had a pretty wild timeline for anybody that's been following it. A bunch of name changes, and now he just got hired by OpenAI yesterday, literally. And the funny story about that is he had a startup before that he sold and exited, and it was for PDF software, and he used that software to sign his contract with OpenAI.
Oh wow.
But
That's wild.
anyways, yeah. So like, it's OpenClaw at its core is it's kind of like a personal AI assistant. That's what it's kind of framed as. And so I didn't know much about it. I read about the project, and then I just like everybody's buying Mac Minis because like it seems like the cool thing to do. TLDR, you don't need a Mac Mini. I have
Definitely don't.
I have it running. I have a mini PC from before for work for stuff that I've been just. I have a home lab now, but it's just basically I needed something to test how and to learn our product. So I have it on there.
Hmm.
But you can literally put it on. Depends what you're doing, obviously, but you can deploy it on like a VPS, like people are saying and stuff. Like if you just want to
Yeah.
experiment, um, but yeah, it's essentially a personal AI assistant. And like for anybody who's used something like even like Claude Code, like everybody's always saying yes, do the thing. It always asks you, but like people just I think default to YOLO mode because they're like I
Yeah.
can't get shit done if I'm not in YOLO mode almost,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the thing with OpenClaw is, and they have a security person on the team now, and they're definitely fixing a lot of security issues, but it's still kind of like there's lots of disclaimers in the documentation,
Yeah.
and I've had even stuff at work. I work at a security company, and like when I was talking about it, like I got a message like, do not install this on your work computer, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's running on my home thing. So it's still a bit of a security hot potato, but it's pretty wild the stuff it can do. You can give it like API keys to anything and it'll start working. So like I use it right now with the Anthropic models, but like I have it connected to, I was showing you before the stream, but like I'd never used Home Assistant before. I have it set
Mhm.
up now with my OpenClaw. And so like, for example, I can turn my GitHub light off with OpenClaw. If I just do this, and then it should go off. There's a delay in the stream, I guess, but it should go off at some point. Or is it still on? Okay, no,
It's
maybe I
still.
broke something. Anyways, oh yeah, maybe I clicked the wrong one. Anyways, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can do like schedule stuff. So like I have it do things like I need you to research and do competitive analysis on stuff for Pomerium where I work. Send me a recipe every week. I'm doing keto right now, so like just something
Mm.
that actually tastes good. Um, I have it do other things like I have a newsletter, and I typically was just discovering things myself, and I still do, but it also suggests things sometimes, and then I install them on my own
Oh.
machine and then try them out. Um, I'm using it to draft blog posts, whether that's me just talking to it first. So basically, you can have cron jobs, so scheduled stuff. You can have it checking other things. Like I don't use it for email or calendar stuff. I don't find
Mm.
that useful, at least right now. But
Yeah.
you can basically let it drive a lot of things. But like the thing with that is there's a danger to that as well. Like
Yeah.
who knows? Like hey, I gave it the keys to the kingdom for my email, and I don't have any more email now. Like it's um so there's just lots of disclaimers, but it's really fun to work with. I don't think this is something you should let a normie just have. If you do, just configure it for them. But it's I use it literally every day. Right now, I just set it up before the live stream. I have related to work, but it's also my home lab. I'm running Kubernetes on this mini
Hmm.
PC, and I'm still not a Kubernetes expert, so I gave it read access to my home lab. So this is not like some production server. If I nuke my
Yeah.
home lab, that's on me.
Sure.
But I'm using it as a tool for me to learn Kubernetes. So like I have it scheduled to say like every day, let's help me learn something about it. And it's kind of it's like a production like environment, so I can actually you know slowly learn. So I've been using it as a bit of a tutor as well to some degree.
Nice.
Um, and you can literally ask it anything. The thing is, it's always on. That's the difference from like if you're just in a chat GPT or Claude, you ask it, you have a conversation, but then it's just that's it, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
that was what I wanted to ask too, because obviously a lot of the stuff you mentioned, there's already tools that were able to do most of those things. So
Yeah.
how is this different? Like, what is the benefit to maybe finding a use case for yourself here?
Yeah. So one, you can hook it up to like Discord or WhatsApp or Telegram. So like you could literally be on the go and just say, "Hey, can you do this thing for me?" So like, fun fact, I had a pretty substantial pull request merged into the OpenClaw code base for security
Hey,
stuff. So, um, and the fun fact is, I used OpenClaw. I was chatting with it. I first created the issue, and then I made a pretty detailed issue. And then Peter, who's the creator of it, he responded like, "Oh yeah, let's do this. Here's my criteria." And then I just fed that all to OpenClaw, and I just said, help me start up this pull request. It did an initial draft, created the PR. Um, the project is moving so fast, so it got closed pretty quickly because like
yeah,
literally hundreds of changes were already there after like 2 days. So,
wow.
anyways, I got back to it like last Friday, and then I just got it to finish up stuff. I did a bit on my own too, and then got that merged in. But the cool thing about that was like I could be doing other things and I can delegate it to do things like start work on this thing, just put up a draft PR or whatever. Like it doesn't even have to be perfect yet, but it's like a good starting point. And I don't know, it's hard to explain it without somebody using it. But it feels pretty liberating. It's because like you can just ask it anything. Obviously, you might run out of tokens at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm fortunate enough that like as a GitHub Star, you get like a GitHub Copilot subscription for free.
There you go.
So I use that, and I have a Claude subscription for like the Pro. So I just kind of toggle between the two. So it's generally okay, but so it's yeah, I don't know. I find it kind of liberating. It's also just a completely different way of working, because like I could just say like, oh yeah, that's good, but what about the security concerns? Like I'm not even coding at this point, I'm just talking about like specs or criteria, and then it just spits something out, and it's just pretty wild. And like I honestly find myself using an IDE less and less, like even
Oh,
pre Claude, sorry, even pre OpenClaw. I'm still in Claude Code a lot. I'm asking questions, I'm doing things, and then I'll pull it up in the editor at the end to maybe check a few things. But I'm hand coding less and less, and I'm finding an IDE even less critical, if that makes sense.
interesting. No,
You know,
it does. That's actually an interesting question. Do you think that these types of tools are ultimately kind of predicting the end of the like VS Code or like the
I
standard
don't think it's going to
IDEs?
be like the end of VS Code, and I love VS Code. I've been using it forever, but I think just how we use IDEs is going to be changing, and
Yeah.
it's already changing in VS Code. So like you can bring in, for example, like Claude Code, ChatGPT, Codex, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Not ChatGPT, but Codex. These tools are just becoming more like orchestration. So it's like uh, Peter, who's the creator of OpenCloud, is listening to his interview with Lex Friedman. If people haven't caught that yet, it's a good interview. But he's like, now I'm like a manager at a factory, and I don't necessarily know everything that's going on, and I'm more just, hey, like what's clean up an aisle two. Oh, the compressor stopped, or like, so you're kind of becoming more of just steering the ship, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
versus like all hands on deck kind of. I don't know, it's just interesting times, like, and I enjoy working this way, like I speak to some old coworkers, and one of them went from my dev 2 days, and he's like, he really loves the craft of coding, and he's
Mm.
like, I'm not doing that so much now. You're also becoming more of a reviewer as opposed to a coder. So it's you know but getting back to what I was saying before, like I've always liked coding, but I'm not like, it's not a I'm fine that I'm not coding, is I guess what I'm getting at, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the main. piece of the role. Like it's good that it's part of it, but not like the overall thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how do you use maybe a tool like that is for like kind of to tie both of the topics we discussed together? It's like, how does somebody use a tool like that to really help them maybe focus on content creation?
Yeah. So there's a few things. There's some things I set up in OpenClaw yesterday, but like I've done this before. Like I know you do a lot of content creation. One of the things you should be doing with content creation, if you aren't, is repurposing content.
Mhm.
So a very simple example of this is we do this live stream right now. You're probably or Patrick or somebody at Torque is going to cut it up, and there's going to be clips of this after. So that's repurposing content, you know, and it's pretty low effort. Who knows? Maybe somebody decides to turn this into a blog post. You know, it's not
Mhm.
literally verbatim the transcript, but it might be like,
Yeah.
you know, how is AI changing the developer landscape, and then they could pull from this.
Yeah.
Like it can go on and on. This whole thing, somebody maybe in the chat's like, hey, this would make a great talk, you know, or one of us, you know. So like it's kind of it's not rinse repeat. It's just like I don't know, more like Jack Johnson, reduce, recycle, reuse. I guess I don't know that song with Curious George there. I'm sure
Oh
you've
yeah.
heard it.
Oh yeah.
Um, anyways, so I think that's one thing that's important.
Mhm.
And I'm also using it to give me ideas. So one thing, I'm not finished it, but I'm building an MCP server for. So I have my newsletter on Beehive. They have an
Okay.
API, and I don't have a ton of subscribers yet. Like as of today, it's like 363, but I'm still pretty happy with it. The newsletter is doing well in my eyes,
Yeah.
but sometimes there's lower open rates or click-through rates of the newsletter, and it's I'm trying to analyze like, okay, why did people not open this one as much as like the last one?
Yeah.
And so like I basically was using AI to build an MCP server to help me do this, because then I can just talk to like ChatGPT or Claude and ask like, you know, why did this content do well, or help me make the next one, I want to make this one pop, what stands out from the previous ones that made those pop kind of,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. That's
I'm
I think that's
leveraging
a
it
great
that way.
idea. Yeah.
So
No, that makes sense. Go ahead.
yeah, no, so that, and given that I have an API, maybe I'll just pop it in into my OpenClaw as well too. But you know, just anything to help me move the needle, because it's technically part of my job now, because I'm
Yeah.
officially a developer advocate now. But like, there's a lot of things on the go. I'm the only developer advocate. There's so many things I'm doing. So
Yeah.
like leveraging AI to just kickstart some things is good. Maybe even like for live streams, like I have guests on for work and personal.
Mhm.
Hey, what are some good topics? Maybe, and like just help me search some stuff, or what's hot right now. Like, so for example, like OpenClaw is obviously very popular now.
Yeah.
Everybody's blogging or doing videos about it. So,
Yeah.
like, maybe I'll pop one where I write a blog post about my OpenClaw setup, and then maybe that'll be my newsletter. Check out OpenClaw. I don't know. So
I like that
that's kind
idea.
of how I'm doing content. I don't think I'm the best at content creation. Like video is my weak spot, to be honest. Not live streams. Like live streams, I'm good with like a guest just hanging, chatting.
Yeah.
But I need to get better at short form content, or do more of it. Like aside from just clips from live streams, and there's people I know who do it well. Roxy's good at it, who's in the chat. Bree Hall, who works over at
Oh yeah.
Atlassian.
Rita is
I've hung
great.
out with her a few times, and she just has great content.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so also looking at how people are doing stuff, and I think video is a little different because I'm extroverted, but you kind of have to. You're not playing a role, but it's the kind of thing. Like even when I started live streaming, it wasn't great when I started. It was pretty shitty. first live stream back in 2020, literally 0 people watching. I'm literally talking to myself on a screen. But it's the kind of thing like, you know, do some videos. They'll be like meh probably, but if you just keep doing them, and I guess that's the other thing, just being consistent.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Consistency
I
is
guess
a big
that's
one.
what I would say. Yeah, the consistency one's huge because it happens to me all the time. Somebody will just say, I see you posting stuff all the time. They don't say like, I've read all your blog posts or watched all your videos. It's just, I just see you're always visible, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Roxy had a question here. How do open rates work if you open it like a day or two later? Maybe you don't know the answer to that, but I'm curious myself.
it still adds to it. So it'll be like today, like right now, like I shared some of the stats from my newsletter earlier today because like people were engaging with it. They were clicking on the link to my blog post about it. So like the open rate, it's, I don't know, it's like close to 40 right now. It's still only halfway through the day. Yeah, no, generally my newsletter averages about 50% open rate right now.
Dang, dude.
And then the click-through rate, the last couple, it goes up and down, but for the most part, it's been over 10%, which is, and I've read about this. These are solid numbers for a developer-focused newsletter.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, to Roxy's question though, like if I click on the email, it's gonna count toward it. If I open it in a week, it's still gonna count toward it. If people visit the newsletter on the website and they click on a link, that'll still count towards the click-through rate, not the open rate, I don't think, because obviously it's not the email, but yeah.
Helps if it's not that overwhelming amount of info, like you advertise it short and sweet. Yeah. Oh, Matt, I have a question. How does everyone afford all these AI subs? How do you budget this, Nick?
Yeah, so this is a really good question because I don't think it's even playing ground right now. All these people are like, yeah, I ran, 20 agents and, like if I was a student right now, like you would not be able to do any of that.
No.
Like you'd probably have like a free Copilot maybe, which doesn't give you that much. Maybe you use some local models because like they just don't cost anything, but they don't run fast on your machine. So like I think it's a bit of a problem. Like I'm fortunate enough, like it depends on people's jobs. Like some companies still aren't on the AI train, but like at my work they encourage it. So and I'll get to that in a sec. But like in terms of what A.K. Deuce is saying, I think it really depends on your salary and where you're at in your career, maybe, because if you're just starting off, you can't be owned. Well, I would assume you couldn't afford all these things. Like I was saying, I get the Copilot free through GitHub Stars. I could pay for it though if I needed to. But this is a side note, but if you contribute to open source, you can get a free Copilot subscription. So I don't know what the exact criteria is, like, because obviously you could just go create a repo right now and say I'm doing open source, that they're not going to give it to you. But there is some criteria and I don't know what it is, but most people I know that work in open source get it free, even if they're not a GitHub Star. The other thing is, I think it's worth paying for these things. So like, for example, ChatGPT is like, I think 20 American, it cost me like $30 Canadian or whatever. And then Claude.ai, I have the Pro, it's like 20 US too. So I'm paying like $60 a month maybe for those two subscriptions. But if you think about it, the amount of time it saved me, because your time is money, I would argue that it's probably worth it. You're not losing money. It's helping you move faster potentially if you know how to use the tools. So I think if you can get at least one of these subscriptions, that I think it's definitely worth your while. Just skip getting 2 whatever pumpkin spice lattes at Starbucks, which side note, those things are gross. I just drink straight coffee, but anyways, but like in all seriousness, like, you know, don't, if you got a tight budget, hey, just skip going out one night, you know, pay for your subscription. Like that's probably what I would do if I was a student.
You know, as far as students go, to Roxy's point, though, it's and I actually, while you were talking, I just texted my wife because I was curious because she uses ChatGPT, and I asked her if she's paying for it, and she said she's not. So I think that there's still, at least on most of these LLMs, there's a pretty like robust amount of free tier. I would say, for example, like a kid in high school probably isn't even really needing to pay before, you know what I mean? Like they're getting the free use, and they can jump around. Like if you were to
that's
use
the thing too. Yeah, if I'm assuming most people probably have a Google account because of Gmail, go use Gemini to you know, so there's ways to, you know, to kind of, you know, get as much bang for your buck, but you know, the people that talk about running 20 agents and stuff, they're on a different level, and either their work is paying for it or they're just making some serious coin and they honestly just don't care about burning all that, you know.
It is never what it seems. It just again, remember that the whole like sparkle that everything has online is vastly different behind the scenes. You have to take that into consideration for sure. I use it free. It looks like, a lot of people are using the free options, which totally makes sense. Will's going to start looking into local models. He started playing around with it. I think that's actually, I also messaged my bot and was like, hey, let's start figuring out a local model for you to use.
So like for people interested in local models, there's something called Olama, free download, and it's got a built-in, like it changed, I think maybe early or near the end of last year, but there was always a chat interface, but now they have saved conversations. They didn't have that before. There's also, you can get free models from, it's either Microsoft Foundry or Azure Foundry. It's similar to like Olama. And yeah, like the thing is, some things you don't need necessarily, like Opus 4.6 or Sonnet, like even stuff for just processing text. There's good local models. There's one called Gemma. The thing is, you have to see what size it is. Like, for example, like on my work machine, which is pretty souped up, it's like a M4 MacBook, and it's got like, I think 48 gigs of RAM, which is a lot. But like on my personal computer, it's 32, and it's like if I run anything, that number after the model is like, think of that as like almost RAM. So like 3B is probably 3 gigs of RAM roughly, 7B. So like if your machine's like 32 gigabytes and then you try to run a model that says 32 billion parameters, and I didn't clue into this initially, and on my machine, I'm like, why is it responding so slow? Because you know how it streams in the answer? It was literally like one letter at a time over 10 minutes. Like, I had to wait for it to finish because like I couldn't. Anyways. There's definitely local models that can be good for stuff. The other thing is privacy. So like, for example, if you wanted to go over a contract or something, it's not sending any information anywhere. You could just say like, distill this contract for me, you know, or even if you were to pass that contract to like a cloud-based model, you could run it through a local model first, say remove any personal information, or, you know, obviously you should probably still check it. But like, there's definitely use cases for them. I think people still default a lot to the cloud models because they just work better. Because you could have awesome local models, but like some people are talking about paying 10 grand for like a Mac Studio to just run a local model, you know, and I don't think that's what people in the chat are probably going to do.
Probably not. I mean, at $20 a month for however, what would you say, a year or two that you're going to use it before something else comes out? I actually, that brings up a nice point too. I want to talk about the pricing a little bit, since we're kind of talking about like paying per use and how that all works. Like, do you see this pricing model like kind of going the same way as any other subscription based, like Disney Plus just went up, Netflix goes up every year? Are we gonna continue to see those? And what's like the peak before people start to kind of cut the cord again?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a rude awakening where these prices right now there's kind of like VC backed funding. So like I don't think these are the real prices. So they're gonna so a couple things. One, like just use it as much as you can right now while it's not that expensive. But I think it's gonna become more expensive. And like obviously they probably want, well, maybe they don't want to bring down the prices, but like it's not gonna, if it's not affordable, then I don't know what's gonna happen then. You know what I mean? Like you'll end up with a 2-tier system where everybody who's over a certain tax bracket's gonna have all the goodies, and then but yeah, I think I'm not just hypothesizing this. I've read people talk about this many times, that these aren't the real prices. They're gonna be higher. So the other thing too is like, everybody's work is different. Like my work is totally cool with me, leveraging AI to just get stuff done. And I remember the first day I blew like $300 US in like an hour. And at first I was like, because I had this thing that was tracking how much I was spending.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. But then I kind of stepped back a bit and I'm like, this is related to Kubernetes and setting up my home lab, but like, I'm still not a Kubernetes expert. I'm like, I got the LLM to help me just get this all set up. I blew 300 US plus my amount of time in salaried hours.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to pull in like 1 or 2 coworkers who are salaried, who, so like, I didn't interrupt anybody. They were able to do other things. And even though $300 might sound like a lot, it's like a drop in the pond. And I was able to actually get something done. And this helped me it was a demo I was trying to build before my talk for All Things Open. So like it sounds like a big number, but in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't, just from an operational standpoint, so, and you can, again, it gets back to what we said. I think the theme of the hour is like, just know your tools, know how to leverage them.
Yeah, I like that.
So, you can burn a lot of tokens just by not starting a new conversation, like we were saying. So like you're fixing your React issue with your question about pickles on a peanut butter sandwich, it's
exactly.
So yeah, and I see Will saying in the chat, yeah, open code's really good too.
Yep. How do you decide?
I'm not really using open code right now. I just got used to the flow of Claude code. And I just got used to the tool, basically, I guess. But the thing that's interesting is like with OpenClaw or like something like OpenCode, even Goose. Like I know you've had a couple sessions with Rizal. I think you were building MCP servers or MCP apps. So like Goose is another good example of where you can bring your own subscription. So this kind of is a good point to mention. That AAK Deuce is like, say you have a Copilot subscription, you can use that in VS Code. You can actually use it in Open Code. You can use it in Goose. So so it can go a long way too, and that's kind of nice. But
I think that's important too.
Yeah, but like to the point about like how do you choose? I think it's what people are comfortable with. Like I started using OpenAI's Codex desktop app, and that was pretty cool too. I just haven't used it that much yet. I think it's just early days. Try out things if you can. Max out the free tiers if you can. I know, for example, Claude or Anthropic, they said like with their new model Opus 4.6, if you go to your account, you can get $50 in free credits. I don't know if that's still happening, but like I know Open Code a lot of times Dax will say like, hey, this new model free for the next week, so like it's kind of tough keeping up with everything too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
it's, it's like such a moving target. But yeah, Roxy's saying she claimed her tokens her credit last week. So, but yeah, it's just wild times, and it's like, I don't know. I generally think if you're not even touching or like even being curious about any of these tools, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm not like some AI zealot that's just like, but like I know people who are completely resisting it, and it's just not going to end well for them, like, maybe it's fine now, but there's one day there's going to be a rude awakening. Like, it's not, AI is not going to take your job. It's the people leveraging AI that are going to take your job.
Ooh, there's a soundbite, Nick.
Yeah.
How do you think it makes more sense to get really good at one thing, or like focus on one thing? Again, just kind of talking about like that shiny object syndrome that's really happening with all these different options. Does it make more sense to focus on one thing, or should they be trying different things and experimenting? Like, what makes more sense
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of wild west. So like, I'd say experiment some too. Like for example, like OpenClaw is the perfect example. Like
Mhm.
I just showed up on my radar 3.5 weeks ago. I'm like, I'm gonna check it out, and I'm glad I did, because like even with all the caveats from a security standpoint, I'm actually using this tool every day now. It's actually making me productive. I don't think it's just fake productiveness. um so you obviously, if you're chasing every shiny object, you're just never going to move anywhere. But
Yeah.
it's also at the same time, at least right now, I think you should try out a few tools at least. Maybe you'll be like, hey, I love open code, so I'm going to stick with open code, and there's nothing wrong with that for sure. But i think you need to be leveraging these tools in some capacity. uh you know like Torres community is doing great. You guys have like an AI channel. You've been doing these like workshops. I think, like,
Mhm.
don't sleep on those things. I know like the Goose team, Roselle and stuff, they do other workshops
Yeah.
sometimes. There's all kinds of uh, there's a lot of stuff going on in San Francisco. Like I was there a lot last year, but
Yeah.
like there's like, it's not an exaggeration. There is literally an AI meetup every night there. It's not a joke. But there's so many virtual ones too, so like just try and attend whatever you can. It's I don't have a super clear answer. You just start messing around with some of this stuff, I guess, is the main thing, because I don't know, it's just, yeah, if you don't, I really think you're gonna get left behind. And I'm not generally like a doom and gloom kind of person, but I think uh, I don't know. It's just another tool, but it's a tool that you should really start looking at using.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, if somebody was to approach you and ask for, as far as like advice on a learning path right now, what would you sort of send them on? Like, how would you go about it in 2026? Because getting into tech or like focusing on development is vastly different now than it was,
Yeah,
again, even when I got in.
I don't even know if I have a great answer for this right now, because like um a couple things. One, like, because I've had people ask me many times about job advice, like landing that first job. And I think somebody who's been in the industry for a long time is the worst person to ask. You should
Why is that?
probably, like, obviously I can give you some nuggets, like do this, do that, but I think it makes more sense if you were to speak to someone that's like, hey, I landed a new job 6 months ago, or I got a job a year ago, or even 2 years ago, because those people will have better perspective on like the job market for that kind of entry or like mid-level jobs. And I think it'll be a little more relatable too. Like I've been in the industry since 2002, so like I can tell you how I got my first job. you know drinking beers after practice with somebody I played rugby with, and he gave me a CD-ROM to learn Visual Basic 6. And my only advice there is like your network's everywhere, but like that might not be good advice right now for what the person's trying to do specifically. But definitely,
I think that still has some weight. I think it's important to
yeah,
remember like that is a huge factor for sure. But
oh yeah,
even
yeah.
with that, it's like there still is going to be a little bit of a different process.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say a seasoned person is probably the worst person to ask. I've never heard anyone say that.
Maybe worst is like a little harsh, but like obviously I can give you advice, maybe how to prep a bit, but like I really do think like, hey, I got a job a year ago. Like if you think about it, it probably makes more sense to talk to somebody like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because not only is it they got a job recently and they're still kind of new to the industry, my interview for a role is going to be completely different than somebody who's looking for their first role too,
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
like I typically don't get asked to like, can you create a linked list or something? It's just more like, oh, I see you've been working in open source. You want to talk about your projects, or like, this is the role, it's just a completely different framing, so
Yeah.
that's all I mean. It's
Yeah.
not that seeking advice from like not that I have I got a bit of a gray beard today, but like I didn't shave. I'm working out after, so yeah, I just think asking people who've been in the industry more recently landing jobs makes more sense.
Sure.
And then but and it's just like, I honestly don't know what the learning path is right now for somebody starting off, because like I don't think if you're just saying like I'm learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I honestly feel like that's table stakes. Like that's not even
okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I don't mean this to I'm just to be clear, because I know a lot of people in the chat. It's not to discourage anybody. It's just like the bar keeps getting higher and higher.
Yes.
So like for example, like when I started, first job was just more knowing somebody that gave me a chance, but then like other roles, it was like maybe do take home tests and stuff, and you're like, there was no like, it was basically, here's my resume. They looked at it and maybe asked some questions. Nowadays, like I'd say since pandemic, or like 2019ish, which is pretty much when pandemic started.
Yeah,
It's
right
like, you're not only are you a dev, you have I definitely encourage people to build in public, whatever you think that is, whether that's blogging, live streaming, whatever. But like, I think that's even table stakes now. So you not only are you a dev, you're a content creator, you have to be your own manager to promote yourself. It's like, that's what I mean by the bar is so high. And now you got all that, and then AI is like here, and then it's like, I don't know. And I just really don't know what the learning path is, because you still need to learn the fundamentals, but things are moving so fast that I think now if you get hired as like your first role, you're going to be expected to ship right away and be able to use AI. There's a lot of pressure. Again, though, I can't speak because I'm not a junior or like starting off, but like, I don't know where you find the balance where you got to start leveraging AI now and still somehow learn some core fundamentals of software development or front end or back end. I really don't have a great answer.
That's okay. No, I mean, you might say you don't have a great answer, but I feel like you gave us a lot of information right there. And maybe you didn't get your like home run tagline response, but everything you just said was very valuable. I think if you were to ask your OpenClaw bot to summarize and give you like the takeaway from our conversation, what would it say? Since we're at the hour anyways, I'll let you get like a closing thought. If you were to ask your bot, what'd you name yours, by the way? Don't lie. You did.
Yeah. His name's McClaw. I probably should have called him McLovin, but I just went with McClaw.
I like it.
Yeah. Damn it, McClaw.
Damn it, McClaw.
I
So what?
I feel like good cop, bad cop. Anyways.
There you go. So what would he say was the key takeaway of everything we talked about today? Summarize it.
Yeah. I'd say probably don't ignore AI. Don't like, you kind of just have to put your ego in the back pocket. Like, I can do this better or whatever, or I know how to code. I'm just going to do it myself. Like, just start exploring it, and just, I would frame it as it's just another tool for you to help do your job potentially better. And like any tool, like, you can obviously, you know, create a toothpick with a chainsaw maybe, but probably whittle it with a knife instead, you know, like, just, I don't know. But yeah, just, there's these new tools out here. It's moving fast. Just start learning at least one of them, and, you know, talk to people in the community. You know, like, people are generally helpful. There's a lot of content out there right now. I don't know. I would definitely say, like, the Tor community's got a lot of good stuff going on in there. It's, you know, just speak to your peers too. You know, like, people are, I think, generally happy to help. Yeah, just learn the tools, and don't despair, I guess.
Don't learn the tools. Don't despair. Build in public.
Yeah.
Do all the things all the time. You'll get
Yeah.
there. Dude, that was, yeah, no, I love that. I do want to, at some point, we should do a stream about OpenClaw setup.
Yeah.
I'm getting, it is GPT Neo. It is a 1.3B size. Would be the most reasonable choice, it's telling me. So I'm going to actually test a local out here once I get it installed, because I'm still, like, going back and forth with mine that it wants to do some of the stuff on its own, but then it'll make me come over and put a Y in the terminal. Like, I have to approve things. I'm like, buddy, like, come on.
Yeah. Well, there's certain things you can, I know we're pretty much at time, but, like, you can, there's, we can get into it in another stream, but there's a soul.md, which is kind of like what the bot is. There's like a tools.md, so you can just give guidance in those things. I think you can also install tools for it. Like, mine runs in Docker, and I install certain things that it can use. And but yeah, we can talk about that on another stream.
Yeah, we should get that set up soon. That'll be great. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for being here. Where can everybody find you? Over here?
Yeah, nickyt.co is the best place. Literally everything's there now. If you're lazy, you can just go to nickyt.online, and that's all my socials. But yeah, nickyt.co is the best place.
There you go. Go subscribe to his newsletter, and one tip at a time, or one
tipawweek.com.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I know you.
Yeah, you did not like that suggestion, but anyway, it was great to see you, man. Everybody can head over to the torque.community page and head up our Discord if you're not already there. Our good friend Nick is there, so you can ask him follow-up questions after the show. Outside of that, I will be back Wednesday with resume reviews, I think we're doing. So
nice.
Yeah, it was great to see everybody. It was great seeing Nick. And remember, it's nice to be nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice to your chat bots.
Yeah.
Did you see the name suggestions, by the way? I liked
I did not. I'm gonna have to Clawpaca. Yeah.
And
I might have to do Clawpaca.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Have a great rest of your day.
Later.